I mean, you know, there have always been the Anthony Davidsons and so forth, but now we have, you know, China Diego writing, and a group of writers, well, I'm not going to go through and name all individually, but who are really interested in fantasy in terms of political critique and fantasy in terms of social critique. And I think that in some ways, that's a very interesting trend. I don't think science fiction is necessarily more depressing than it's ever been, because I'm a John Runner fan, as Greg mentioned. And also I think that in some ways, what science fiction is it's the job of testing things to destruction. And my personal metric for the difference between a science fiction novel and a techno-thriller is that at the end of a techno-thriller, there's this cosmic reset button that gets hit, and everything kind of goes back to the way it was. And that's the difference between a Greg Bear novel and a Michael Crichton novel. You know, specifically.
It's just terrible.
And that's why you're not getting those multi-million-dollar movie deals.
I am, but he's getting his made. So.
Yeah.
But I think there is a room for wit in science fiction and for humor, and I think it allows people to fall into these characters more and become more engrossed and involved in this possibly darker world that we're creating. And I think, at least for me, it seems it's been very important to keep that in the story.
Well, I guess my question then is the world we're creating that much darker? Because at least for me, I mean, I'm writing, you know, essentially ecological disaster novels. In the book I have coming out in November, all the white people get eaten by nanites. This is a big eco-terrorist thing. Basically, the entire Western world is wiped out. Bad things happen, but and then bad things happen after that.
More power to you.
But the thing is that in the course of writing this novel, my characters assert some control over this situation, and I think there's an intrinsically hopeful thing there that we're saying that, you know, no, okay, maybe the world does come to an end, but you still get up in the morning and go out and, you know, and I think that's intrinsically very hopeful.
I think speaking as a technical writing issue, that humor actually, I think really has a narrative potential undiscovered by me as yet. But in looking at things like Hitchhiker's Guide, I remember for many years just being bitterly envious about how inventive the guy was. But actually, later on, I came across a slightly comforting second take on it, and that was, it's easier to be extravagantly creative if you sort of loosen the joints of reality a little bit. And you can do that under the cover of humor. So there have been things on Futurama that have just been delightful, that would have been hard to put in one story container if it hadn't been upfront that this whole story was supposed to be a joke or a humorous. And so I think this is actually, as a narrative or as a writing tool, it's something that's really worth thinking about. And Terry Pratchett, in a sort of intermediate stage, has, I think, managed to give himself additional freedoms, that he has managed to write stuff that actually can be very, very serious and moderately depressing. And he can still do that and kill people, and do all that sort of stuff, and still sort of have something of a lighthearted tone. Just bring what he has done with death. The other day, I just suddenly realized what a trick he had played, what a writing trick he had played on me with that made it possible for him to get away with things that I had no hope of getting away with in a straight dramatic story.
So
So you talked about killing people, Werner. What do you, well, like in mystery, the rule is, you know, have as many dead humans as you want and kill them however you want, but whatever you do, don't kill the cat. Is there a don't kill the cat for science fiction? What is it that makes fans say,
It's don't kill the cat.
I think that's universal across genres.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily spoil the fate of the cat.
But by all means, go about killing people.
Right.
I'm sorry, was that kill, K-I-L-N people? Ladies and gentlemen, David Brennan.
That's what I heard.
I think one of the basic premise or one of the questions that we came up with at the beginning of this panel about fantasy selling really well and science fiction not selling quite so well, maybe it's because
Except
it's
for Michael Crichton.
depressing. Well, and it depends how you categorize that, but I'm not sure that I agree with it because it's depressing. I think a lot of the science fiction that is being published in these the big fat epics, it's not because it's depressing, it's because it's inaccessible to most people. Now, I grew up reading science fiction. I learned all the ins and outs of the jargon. I knew all of the story tropes and all the basic things. And now I can pick up a book that I really enjoy, like one of the big fat Peter F. Hamilton books or an Alistair Reynolds books. And I'm right now on the plane flying here. I'm chewing through like the first 50 pages of Ian Banks' the Algebraist. And I'm enjoying it because I speak the language, but it's like I speak ancient Sumerian. Page after page, the thought goes through my head, my mom would never get this. There are so many internal references, so many shorthand things that are from people who have maybe watched Blade Runner too many times, maybe read Neuromancer too many times. And yes, that might be a realistic portrayal of the future, but the average person can pick up a Terry Brooks novel and enjoy the story because all of the references are common to all of us. If you read the first page of Peter Hamilton's The Reality Dysfunction, it makes no effing sense at all. And I love those books. I'm not dissing them, but you have to work at them. You have to get through maybe 40, 50 pages before you get into the universe and it's there. But now, when I'm writing the big science fiction books, whether it's the Dune books with Brian Herbert or my own Seven Sons books, they're like big fantasy novels that have science fiction clothes on. That instead of mythical kingdoms, I've got alien planets, and instead of elves and dwarves, I've got different alien races, and they fill the same roles, and they're the equivalents of kings and queens and good guys and bad guys. And even if there's dark situations that everybody's in, I mean, the end of the universe is at hand or some really terrible stuff, the stories are about people who either screw things up or they act as heroes. And that's the things that I want to tell stories about. And I think even in a quote-unquote depressing situation, you still want to read a story about somebody who tries to transcend that, rather than a story about somebody who says, I'm in a really depressing situation and I can't do anything about it, so I might as well just die.
Does this come down to the whole plot versus character driven thing? Because I still, and I shouldn't say this because I'm not a reader, but talking to readers, I get the impression that science fiction is still largely seen as plots, that it's about ideas. And fantasy is seen as about roles, it's being about people. I honestly I personally don't understand why it has to be that way.
Well, it's not that way, and it never has been. All stories are character-driven. Some are more driven by standard characters than others. In other words, characters that are common throughout literature, they're archetypes, everyone gets into them right away. You know, you can think of a lot of best-selling novels that drag up these archetypes, and there they are, and these people smugly say, I'm reading a character-based story. And then you have books that are about people that are a little more realistic and a little less accessible and doing more difficult things, scientists, for example. And this, I don't understand them, but they're real people. I don't understand them. In that case, you're going to lose that reader. There's nothing you can do about it. But what are you going to write about? Are you going to write about people who are doing real and interesting things? Or are you going to write about stuff that you can get on television? And it's done very well on television. You know, the fact is, if you want to make money, you write books that are accessible to everybody. And quite often in those cases, you build up a large audience of people who really don't keep those books on their shelves very long. They don't fall in love with them. They're entertaining, they're potato chips, they're good, they're well done, sometimes they're eloquent. Bang, they're gone. They're in the thrift store. Or do you write a book that shocks somebody, that moves somebody, that carries someone along, that teaches them something, that arrogantly enough changes something in their brain, such that they get angry at your book and look at it on the shelf for a couple of weeks and they keep it there? What do you want to do? There's all kinds of approaches. Tolkien is hard to read for my mother. She's dead now, but it'd be very hard for her to read Tolkien because it's got all these unfamiliar names and linguistic bits. It's very difficult. Nowadays, that stuff is totally accessible to people. Terry Brooks has a lot of words. There's 494 words in Dune that no one can pronounce. So you get into Dune, yeah, but then there's the Kwisatz Haderach. That's going to knock anyone over the age of 65 who hasn't read science fiction. That's going to knock them. You know, if they're in Branson, Missouri, they're not going to get Dune.
And Dune was rejected 23 times or something before it was published.
That's right.
It said nobody can get through the first 50 pages.
And that was probably true of Tolkien too. You know, the fact is that this stuff grows on people. The best stuff gets terrible reviews quite often. Some of the best movies, same way. You know, if you take a look at Blade Runner, it's considered a classic now. It tanked. No one got it. It was too dark. I don't want to see that. It's raining all the time. It doesn't make any sense. The Japanese run the world. That's never going to go. And then suddenly it took off. You know, as I recall, Bill Gibson went to see the film, and he almost wanted to slit his wrist because he hadn't finished Neuromancer yet. You know, sometimes the films catch up with us. There's just a lot of dark stuff out there, a lot of meaningful stuff, and it's harder to get this through to people who really are in traumatic times, unwilling to be challenged because they're being challenged by everyday life. And that's kind of the cycle we're into now. Because the outside world just looks really kind of grim to us, and this is strange. Because compared to the 1950s, we are living in a very promising paradise, politically speaking. Now, we have lots of little troubles, but we don't have the atom bomb hanging over every single city in the nation day after day after day. And that's forgotten today. I think we're spoiled rotten, actually.
Well, speaking of readers who are willing to rise to the challenge, why don't we hear from a few of you now? Yes?
Yes, I think maybe one of the reasons fantasy feels more character-driven to some is because they have to walk for 800 miles and have nothing to do but talk. So science fiction, you get on the ship and go warp speed, right? So what you guys need to do is take away faster than light drives, right? And then you'll have 5-volume books and get paid more money.
Long from star system to star.
Yeah.
All the science fiction writers in this room, their books are heavily character-driven. There's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of debate, there's a lot of people arguing with each other. You know, that's common.
Yes, publishing stud, Jeremy Laston.
I kind of, as a counterpoint to what Mr. Baird just said, it seems to me people don't want to read about dark dystopian, Philip Dickian science fiction because those are the headlines. Those are
They certainly seem to be, yeah.
And so maybe that's, you know, reality is too dark, or reality reflects those dystopic novels of the 50s and 60s.
Well, there's also a perception that dark equals literary. And I mean, because of course, Elizabethan theater is a hobby horse of mine. But, when we talk about the masters of the Elizabethan theater, we talk about Marlowe and Shakespeare, not Johnson, because Johnson was funnier and therefore didn't get taken seriously.
That still happens. Comedy is given no
Absolutely.
respect. Douglas Adams was a fantastic
Terry
writer.
Pratchett.
They're both. They should both get the Nobel Prize. And they won't because unfortunately Douglas is dead. But comedy relieves our burdens. And sometimes it even changes the direction of our thinking.